Hello everyone, it's Carolyn. Welcome to True Crime Chat with Mommy Ramblings. Today I'm going to tell you about some more crazy stuff in the Lori VALLOW Daybell case. There is some police cam video that surfaced from January of 2019 and a couple of different clips, including a phone call with one of Charles VALLOW's friends, and then when Lori and Tylee and Melanie Gibb all go into the Gilbert Police Department in Arizona to report that Charles stole her purse, and it's just crazy. Lori's laughing, and they're all talking over each other, and it's like a big game. She's flirty. It's just very weird. It's just crazy. And Melanie Gibb, if you're not familiar, she is the friend that Lori had lied to the detectives about the whereabouts of JJ back in November of 2019. So this is going to be very interesting. But for that, if you're new to our community, welcome, and I hope you like it here. We are the best community on YouTube. Please join us by clicking on the subscribe button in the bottom corner of this video. And there's also a notifications bell that you can click on so that you'll be notified whenever we go live, which we do most every night, or upload a new video. We're way more than just true crime on this channel, and I think that's really needed these days when we're all staying home. You'll find all kinds of engaging and interesting content here. But now, on to Lori VALLOW Daybell and this latest stuff that's surfacing. So I'm going to go over some stuff here, and then I'm going to give you some actual dialogue that was going on. So the gist of it is that officers responded to a harassment call, and Lori VALLOW told the officers that Charles stole her purse and phone from her car when she dropped JJ off at school. She then expands on these alleged marital issues she's having with Charles, about catching him cheating, and that she has evidence, and she told him that all of his stuff was going to be gone and his car would be gone, and she said he got a little mad. She then goes to a hotel, and that's when she's at the hotel, everything is discombobulated is what she's saying, and JJ's throwing kind of a fit. She has the dog in the car, she has the sunroof open, and she says if she left the doors open, that would be the first time she ever did that, but then claims that he took her whole purse and out of the car. And then also, this interview happened just days before Charles filed for divorce, and he accused Lori of draining their bank account of $35,000. And the gist of what's going to happen is Lori's going to say that Charles is mad because she took $35,000 out of their joint account, but then figures it's a joint account, so she wants the money and he wants her to give him the money back. The police report says that Charles told officers that Lori changed the locks on him, so he forced his way in earlier that morning, and then when he got there, nobody was there, and he learned his wife moved out with her kids. That's allegedly when she went to the hotel. And then we're going to hear from Gabe Bonilla, a friend of Charles VALLOW's, who's a witness to this petition where he wants her to submit for mental health evaluation. So they're going to speak with him, and we'll go over that. And basically, he's going to say that Lori's been getting into some really religious things that really troubled Charles, and that the relationship was a bit odd. Police tell Lori there is a petition for her mental health evaluation that's being verified. Just talking to you, I don't see that you're a danger to yourself or anyone else. Lori laughs at the thought of going to this Community Bridges Behavioral Health, but she takes down all the information. Tylee says she's working at this time, but really wants to go to community college and possibly become a police officer. Lori's laughing about going to this Community Bridges Behavioral Health. Do they have a gym where she can work out? And then Tylee is saying, oh, you'll be put in a padded room, and they're all laughing and laughing. And then the officer that they're talking about, that's their friend, is Jason Moe, and he's a former Phoenix police officer, the same one that did podcasts with them for Preparing a People on that platform. So Tylee says that Charles had texted her the night before, sent her a strange link to a website about their church. and some of the audio was redacted, but Tylee said her stepfather sent her a link on the church and said something about he had no choice. Didn't file a police report or anything as far as you know, so I'm assuming he was trying to get a response, and then "I love you," Tylee said at the time. Now, Lori, Tylee, and Melanie leave the police department, and officers called Charles telling him that he could be charged with theft. The next day, the Gilbert Police Department confirms that Lori did voluntarily check herself in for a mental health evaluation, and she was discharged a few hours later. So finally, officers call Charles on the phone. You can't make out what they're saying, but it's apparent Charles wants police to enforce the involuntary committal order that he's obtained overnight per the police report. The officer tells him he has to bring Lori her stuff back, and she can't be held against her will, despite Charles petitioning for her to be mentally evaluated. Lori's wondering how he could have done this overnight, and like what's going on there. So the three of them, Lori Vallow, Melanie Gibb, her friend, and Tylee Ryan, all go into the Gilbert Police Department. Lori approaches the officer with this big smile, all flirty and laughing, and shake hands. They all go into an interview room. Lori sits down next to Tylee. There's two officers in there and Melanie. Lori says she doesn't think she's going to file a report, but that friend that's a cop, he said that maybe she should, to have it on the record. One asks, what happened? Did Charles steal your purse and phone? And Lori says, well, we got in an argument yesterday on the phone because Charles is working in Texas, and Lori came across some stuff that he'd been doing, so he was really defensive. Lori said that she took the kids, spent the night in a hotel because she knew he was coming home that night. And the next morning, she's taking JJ to school. This is when she has the dog in the car, and she says that Charles must have been waiting somewhere, and he stole her whole purse out of the car. Whole purse to Lori means her purse, phone, wallet, money, and her everything. She explains the car was locked, but the sunroof was open because JJ's service dog was in the car. She explains that JJ was kind of throwing a fit, and she didn't want to take the dog out. Things were a mess because they were staying at the hotel and they didn't have all their stuff, and JJ was out of his element. She says that either she didn't lock the doors for the first time ever, right? That's a key line. Or whatever. She's talking like this really giddy, immature little girl kind of talk. It's very disgusting. She now cannot say now if the doors were unlocked or locked or unlocked. Okay, so it changes because she's lying. Or that he reached in through the sunroof and grabbed her whole purse. Lori tells the officers that when Charles has her whole purse, that he starts texting all of her family and friends impersonating her. And that Charles lured a friend, Melanie, over to the house to meet him, where he had kicked open the door because Lori had changed the locks, and Melanie tries to interrupt Lori at this time, but the officer motions for her not to interrupt, and the officer asks Lori, did he do that this morning? Lori says, last night, and that is why she was glad she was not at the house last night. Melanie says that when she got there, she was asking Lori, where's Lori? Because she thought Lori had texted her, right? Lori keeps talking over her. Well, they all keep talking over each other. And she says, well, he texted her from my phone, pretending to be me, saying, oh, come meet me at the house, whatever so. Officer asks if she has the text on her phone, and Melanie says, no, not on her phone. You know, you just have these texts. They only just occurred, but you don't have any proof of them. Liars. So she goes on to say that when she got there, she said to Charles, oh, you've been using Lori's phone to contact me? And she says Charles said he was sorry that he deceived her, and she asked how he was doing. How you doing? And you know, she said there were some others there, luckily. Lori interrupts and says that he was changing the lock, so probably having the door fixed where he kicked it in, and locksmiths. And then Melanie gets louder than Lori and says, oh yeah, locksmiths were there, but then there was a white Suburban, which, you know, I don't know where he got that car, but anyway, there were a few other vehicles, so she didn't know if one of those might be Lori. She should have noticed that Lori's car wasn't there, but she didn't. Now, the officer asked Lori what she drives, and she says an Infiniti QX80. And Tylee adds in that it's black. The officer asked Melanie what Charles wanted her there for. And she said he was asking, like, what's got into her? Like, and then Lori interrupts and says, where is she, right? And Melanie's like, where is she? Of course I didn't say. I don't know. She didn't actually tell me where she was. And then Lori starts laughing and says, I didn't tell anybody where we were. We went to a hotel so it was safer. And I thought it was safer for everyone not to know where we are. So I didn't tell anyone. You know, so Melanie says he basically just wanted me to pick a side and just say, and then Lori interrupts and she says, oh yeah, he was just going to tell her how crazy I was, stuff like that. Melanie says, right. And then the officer asks for Melanie's first name, last name, date of birth. Officer asks if this happened before, and Lori says, yeah, unfortunately it did. We had to leave and go to hotels until he comes down. So we've done that before, you know. What motivates him to do that? Lori says, he just goes nuts sometimes. Just goes nuts? Asked the officer, right? And Lori's loud. She butts right in, but she goes, this time I caught him cheating. I had evidence, and I told him, you know, he travels, but he was detected. I told him, you know, to come home and that his stuff would be gone, you know, and that his car would be gone and all those things. And then Tylee puts her hand on the table in front of Lori, like to quiet her down, like, hey, Mom, bring it down, bring it down. You sound like a Looney Tunes, right? So then lots of laughs from Lori and Melanie through this whole thing. And then Lori's like, so he was a little mad. Melanie says that Lori was just trying to protect herself, you know, because she needs so much protection. Everybody's out to get her. Lori says that she just left with the kids because, you know, she didn't want them in all that drama. So, and she looks at Tylee. Yeah, Lori doesn't want her kids in all that drama because she's so stable, and, you know, that's what you think when you think of Lori Vallow Daybell. You think no drama. So then he took your stuff and tried to contact you, the officer asks, you know, and she says, well, he tried to contact me through her. I don't have a way to be contacted. Melanie says she couldn't contact Lori because she didn't know what her phone number was, you know, because she didn't have a phone because Charles supposedly had this phone. And Lori says no one could contact her and she had to buy a little, you know, throwaway phone. Officer says, did you ask him to bring your stuff back? And she says, well, he talked to her about it. Melanie says, yeah, I said, would you be willing to give me the purse for Lori? And he said, no, unless she does this, and, you know, all these things. This, and, you know, all these things. And the officer says, we want specifics. And she's like, oh, sorry, he wants to meet him he wants her to meet him at therapy today. So Lori says, for money or something, there's lots of crosstalk going on. It's really ridiculous. And the officer said, so if he brings your purse back, it's good, Or are you not willing to meet him at therapy or anything? And Lori's like, well, I don't want to meet with him because he's very sneaky and he'll meet me in the parking lot and then he'll mess around with me. Like, he's just going to just, and then the officer's just like, whoa, what if we call him and see if he'll come here? And Lori's like, oh, that'll be fine if you want to do that. I know he has it because he's texting all the family and the kids too. So then Melanie says, definitely, we know he has it because he has the phone. So the officer asked Tylee who's texting her. She takes out her phone and says, well, he's basically texting me. And Lori said, he's acting like my son was in danger. I've been really worried about JJ's safety. I'm sure you have, Lori. Tylee shushes Lori again, and Lori says that he's texting her like he's gonna, and then Tylee says, first he says, are you doing okay today? Hey girl, are you? And they had to redact some stuff, but what it is now it sounds like they're redacting stuff. Please, your mom may not be home for a bit. Sent me a strange link to a website about our church. So what he's trying to, I guess, just tell Tylee that your mom's acting really crazy and she's into this religion here and this is getting nuts and I'm worried about her and maybe she should go to get herself mentally evaluated, right? Something like that. So Lori says about people and Tylee says, yeah, this is what's happening. And Tylee says, and then he texts me at almost midnight and it says, I'm so, and they redacted that, but I have no choice. I'm just sick, and then there's redacted things. Danger, I had no choice, which he didn't file a police report or anything as far as we know. So I'm assuming he was trying to get a response. And then I love you. It's all discombobulated. The officer says a police report about what? And Tylee's like, I don't know, but he was acting like he did something. Now I'm assuming that this was about Charles getting that mental health evaluation order, right, for Lori. And then those text messages come from, do you have it entered in as mom's phone? Oh, no, Tylee says, that was from him. Really, right? Everything Lori's saying. Now the officers must be like, liar. So then Lori then figures out, oh crap, right? No, that was before. That's before. He didn't take the purse until 8:30 this morning. And then Tylee's like, yeah, that was last night. At school is when he took, Lori's getting crazy. And then Tylee says, and he was sending word for word this same text to my cousin, like. And the officer says, what's his name? Lori says, Charles. What's his phone number? They redacted it. Do you have the same last name? Yeah, Vallow. Charles Vallow. And she says, so my friend that's a police officer, he said, go file a report. File something, you can't even, unintelligible restraining order, all that stuff. I don't want to do all that stuff. I just wanted it to be on record. And if we can get the purse back, that'll be lovely because all my stuff's in there. I'm really mad about my lip gloss. It's so stupid. He has all the cards with all the stuff, so he's mad because I took the money out of our account, but it's a joint account. So he wants me to give him the money and okay, and the other officer now says, okay, that's all a civil issue. The purse, there's no reason why he's walking around with your purse, your ID, that he doesn't have a right to. And Lori's like, right, that's what I'm saying. All the rest of the stuff is our joint stuff together, so, all right. The other officer now, I'm going to leave the office, leave this room temporarily, and we're going to give him a call and see if we can't get this rectified. And then Lori's all sickeningly sweet. Oh, that'd be great. Tylee says thank you. The officer says you're welcome. They leave the room. And then the officers say, do you want us to call him or do you want to call him or do you want me to call him? And they say, I don't know, this one's a little confusing for me. So they laugh, Okay, now this is roughly what was going on that call between Gabe Bonilla, Charles Vallow's friend, and the sergeant from the Gilbert Police Department. So they call him up hi, this is Gabe, and please say, hey, this is Scott, with Gilbert Police Department. How are you? Good. The reason for my call is just, I'll get right to the point. You're listed as a witness on a petition for an involuntary committal of Lori Vallow. Gabe says yes. Then they ask him, well, can you tell me a little bit about kind of doing a little follow-up on this paperwork? I was hoping you could kind of enlighten me, because these things are handwritten and sometimes they don't necessarily encapsulate everything that you could tell me. So Gabe says, yeah, it's a tough situation. I'll try as best I can. But his wife, she has been getting into some religious things that troubled him. The relationship was a bit odd the last few months, and it all came to a head when he went out of town. He had me listen to a conversation that he had with her where she was making strange statements. To be very clear, there was nothing threatening or terroristic in mind of the kind, She didn't threaten to hurt herself or the children or him. Okay. The officer says, and then Gabe says, yeah, but she did tell him she was going to get rid of all of his stuff, which actually was true, that when he got his things back, his things were gone from the house. So the officer's like, okay. And then Gabe says when he returned, she had canceled his flight. She made it really difficult for him to get back in. When he did return, he found out the house was all locked up and no one was home. The Gilbert Police Department helped break in a door so that he could get in the house, and they cleared the house to make sure it was, it's inaudible, whatever said there. He found some things missing, some clothes, a computer, but no one was home, and there was no evidence as to where they had gone. That's really about, the gist of it. I understand now from third parties that she's staying in a hotel, that she appears to be okay, children are okay. I haven't spoken to Charles here for a while, so I'm not sure where he's at. And the sergeant says, okay, let me ask you, if I may, did you listen to this? Was it like a live phone conversation or was it a recording? What did you listen to? And Gabe says, well, he put me in on a conversation. He didn't give me any kind of warning on it. He just said, hold on a second. And then I guess put me on like a conference call. And then I was like listening to recording at first. And then it dawned on me after a minute that it wasn't a recording, that it was actually a live conversation. And then it ended pretty much after that. Okay. And just so I'm clear, she didn't threaten him, the children, or herself in that conversation? No, everything was subjective. She did use the word destroy. She said, I will destroy you. But it was done in a very subjective way, he said. That it didn't necessarily come across as a direct threat to him or the children or herself. And the sergeant says, okay, like it could have been destroy his reputation or something less literal. Gabe says his spirit, for all we know, his spirit powers or something. It was very non-specific. And the sergeant says, okay, well, when she was speaking, I know you said it was short. Did she seem coherent? And he says, she seemed coherent, but her statements were strangely irrational. Like she was accusing him of something, but would not tell him what it was. Okay. And then Gabe says, she seemed to, and he laughs a little bit, she seemed to indicate again in somewhat oblique way that he wasn't who he said he was, that he was, the only thing that actually concerned me out of the whole conversation was that I thought this was beyond the pale, so to speak, was, he said, hey, I just wanted to see the kids. And she said something to the effect of, well, you want the kids? I'll give them to you, which I thought was a bit strange for a mom to say. And the officer says, yeah. And then Gabe says, yeah, that was kind of what made me wonder what was actually going on in her mind at the moment. Okay, Sergeant says. And then Gabe says, well, she sounded lucid as she was speaking. Sergeant says, okay, all right, I think that's all. I really appreciate your time. And, I know it's an awkward position, but I do appreciate the extra info. No problem, Gabe says. I want to see everyone treated as best they can, and if she is in a bad state, I hope she gets the right kind of care, and hopefully this resolves itself in the best possible way for those poor kids. And the sergeant says, yeah, I don't think anybody would disagree with you, so thank you again, and they say goodbye. So, I mean, that's about the size of it. You can listen to it. It's on news sites all over. It was originally released to Fox, but it's all over now on Facebook news sites. Jason Lum and everything has it. It's interesting. You can hear a lot of her demeanor and the crazy way they're all talking over each other and laughing. But it's just another piece in this crazy puzzle with Lori. And, you know, I mean, just how much she lies. They're just so many liars, right? Oh my gosh, it's just so crazy. But anyway, I hope that just gives you another glimpse into this crazy case. And I'd love this if you like it, and give it a thumbs up if you like it. That would be wonderful. And share it out where you can. That would be perfect as well. I'll see you probably later tonight. We can talk about this or other cases. And hope you guys are having a great stay home Palm Sunday if you celebrate that. And if you don't, I hope you're having a great Sunday. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye now.